If you're not making at least $1 million a year, you should not be outsourcing your marketing. If you as the founder are not even able to communicate your messaging in a clear enough way on social media to activate the 4 different buyer types and use very basic sales psychology to be able to drive consistent sales, you paying somebody else to make up a marketing strategy for you and create content for you is not going to scale your business.
Okay, so that's a hot take. I agree with elements of what she's saying. The delivery, I'm not exactly a fan of. There's a lot of jargon and lingo in there that I don't even know, nor am I doing $1 million in sales. It's a very random number to throw out there. I don't know why that's the benchmarker. That's big potatoes for someone like me. But I do understand the bulk of what she's saying, which is that you shouldn't hire out your marketing or outsource your marketing until you're clear on it yourself, which brings up a really great question that I'm genuinely excited to talk about today, which is, should you do your own marketing? How involved in your own marketing should you be? This is really great for folks who are starting out, thinking about hiring. Maybe you're already in business and you've been doing well for yourself, and this is something that you've been kind of having a bit of an internal battle with. Really, really great stuff. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this video, but I don't want to go too deep into it, but I did think it was a really great way to kind of kick things off today. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. Now, when it comes to the question, should I do my own marketing? You're going to get, generally speaking, one of 2 answers. Either do it yourself or outsource it, like the woman in the video said. Now, I'm going to be kind of diving into both, what the options are, what makes sense, pros, cons, all that stuff. But if you want the short answer and you're here for the short answer, I would say that, in my opinion, you should be involved in your marketing to some degree. Some stuff you can outsource, some stuff you should do yourself. It really just depends on your values, your priorities, your goals, what niche, what industry you're in, your bandwidth. There's a lot of factors that can contribute to a more specific answer, but I would say generally to some degree you should be involved. So in terms of that involvement, let's go ahead and talk about DIY marketing, doing it yourself, pros, cons, all that good stuff. So if you are someone who is just starting out and you don't have a ton of money to work with, this is going to be a great option. In fact, I think it's worth doing your own kind of marketing in the beginning, if anything, to just have that period of exploration where you can find out maybe what's working, what's not working so much, because that's hard. Marketing is so subjective, and finding out or figuring out what works is so freaking hard. And then once you find out what works, you double down on it, right? And there's a lot of varying factors. Depends on your industry, depends on your audience. So if you're doing your own marketing and you don't have a ton of money, this is a really, really great way to do it. And there's tons of free options out there that can help support your marketing efforts. I'm just going to rattle off a few. Canva, you can get a free account on Canva, and they've got plenty of visual assets and templates and branding materials and stuff like that. I still use Canva myself, dude, and for, people that pay me to help them with their branding, mostly because Adobe is really scary and intimidating and I don't have the time to learn that. So Canva's really great. Kit, it used to be called ConvertKit for email marketing. I think it's free up until like your first 10,000 subscribers. I think MailChimp's a little bit clunky. You got Trello to help with task management. It's kind of like Pinterest where you have a board and then you have lots of little cards inside of that board. There's all kinds of free stuff out there, but in terms of doing it yourself, if you're just now starting out and you're needing a little bit of free help from your best friend Lauren, I would say, what is a topic or a couple topics maybe that you feel like you could speak on for 10 minutes without rest, without pause, without a break? And then from there, think about how could you divide that into smaller segments. And at that point, you've created a content pillar model, which is really great for staying on topic with all the stuff that you talk about on whatever platform or platforms you're on. And I've talked about that before. I don't remember where. I think I have a couple branding videos somewhere in the archive of my channel, so I'll try to find something and link it. But I would think about, when it comes to your marketing, what's something you're able to speak on for 10 minutes without pause, break that up into some more digestible nuggets, and then how can you use some of those tools to kind of help manage that, or help with the ideation of it, or help with the structuring and the delivery and the execution of it. Canva's really great for video editing. When I was editing my videos, I have this really cool guy named Jason hiring my videos now. But there's a lot of really great free tools out there. So if cost and money is a big concern for you, DIYing is a really great way to do that. You also have a lot of control over your messaging. This is really great for if you orient yourself within a very particular kind of niche, or if you have a very particular kind of subject matter that you're able to speak on. Maybe you talk about squid fishing in the Atlantic Ocean. I don't even know. That's a very, very particular thing that not a lot of people know about. So doing your own marketing allows you to kind of have that sort of creative control over the stuff that you were talking about, the stuff that you're wanting to share, that you're wanting to advertise, that you're wanting to promote or just start a conversation around. And branding is a really great way of both visually and verbally demonstrating that kind of thing. In my opinion, I'm not a professor, but in my opinion, branding is a really great way to have a more controlled first impression of who you are and what you talk about. Your brand is not encompassing your entire being. That's a personality, that's a soul. I don't know how deep you want to get with that, but at least in terms of the business side of things, branding is a really great way to kind of capture that and make it super digestible and scannable for people who are coming across you for the first time, which is why I say it's really great for controlling that first impression. This is tone, this is voice, this is personality, this is vocabulary. It's just a vibe. And I've actually I think I recorded a webinar on branding a while ago, so I'll drop that somewhere either in the video or in the description if you want to learn more about that. And then finally, as far as DIY marketing goes, I think this is probably one of the most important parts, which is that you get to build a genuine personal connection with the people that you are attracting, especially if you're starting out. Are you willing to have micro discussions off to the side with people who are coming in, engaging with you, and giving you their time and their attention? I try to do that on YouTube with comments that are nice and constructive. Some are better than others, but I try to give back to the ones that I think contribute to the culture and the dialogue of the channel that I'm putting together. So email marketing is a really great way of doing that. It's a direct line to your audience that you're attracting. Video marketing like YouTube, something like that is also super, super great. But are you willing to have those micro conversations with the people that you're attracting while staying on topic, with some of the stuff that you're putting out there, which, can be hard to do. But at the same time, doing your own marketing is not all butterflies and rainbows. It's not all rubies and poached eggs. There's going to be some not so great parts of it. And I would not be doing you service if I didn't talk about those parts. So there are some drawbacks, of course, of doing your own marketing. The first one being, of course, that it's always going to be a time or money discussion. Do you have more money or do you have more time? If you're doing your own marketing, you probably have more time to spend. So if you're spending more time on your marketing, you're not really going to have so much else for maybe other stuff that you're working on, depending on what your system is and what you're doing. It can take longer because there's quite a big learning curve when it comes to marketing. Everyone needs marketing, but no one knows how to do it, or they don't know how to do it, or they don't want to do it. Falls to the bottom of their to-do list. But I would say that in my own words, if I had to come up with my own definition, marketing essentially is just a blend of psychology and emotional intelligence. That really, really comes in handy with sales. If you're trying to snag a deal, if you're trying to get someone to pay you for your service or your product, it's emotional intelligence and it's psychology. How can you reach your audience with that in mind? Which is why it's so important to identify who it is you're wanting to attract, whether it's the forest, the collection of people, your target audience, or whether it's the individual, the tree within the forest, the person that you're targeting, right? So think about who that is, what their challenges are, what their strengths even are maybe, and what gaps can you help fill for them, whether it's a product, whether it's a service. And if you don't have a ton of experience with marketing or you don't quite know what you're doing, it's very easy to get sucked into the whole gotta be everywhere all at once type of mentality. I feel like when you're doing your own marketing, it's sort of like an open field and you're like, well, okay, I guess it's time to make lemonade out of lemons. So maybe you try over here, you're on Reddit, you're on Pinterest, you're on Instagram, you're on Facebook, you're on LinkedIn, whatever. You can kind of spread yourself kind of thin and have a superficial relationship with the platform and the audience that you're building across those platforms, which is why I personally believe that less can be more. I would rather have $1 than 100 pennies, which is why I tend to go deeper rather than wider on maybe one or two platforms as far as digital marketing goes, with social media and stuff. But it can be difficult to vet what's worth the investment and what maybe isn't worth the investment. There's such a huge learning curve when it comes to doing your own marketing. And I can tell you that from experience for myself and for other people that I've supported. But really, bottom line as far as DIY goes is that all of these things I'm saying are very, very similar to should you traditionally publish your book or should you self-publish your book? If you aren't super sure of yourself and you don't know what you're doing, you're a first timer maybe you don't mind taking a pay cut if it means giving it to people who really know what they're doing. Or likewise, for me, if I was going to write a book tomorrow, I would probably self-publish it because I feel like I have the knowledge and the expertise and I feel comfortable and confident enough to just kind of do my own thing and know that it'll be of pretty good quality. Ideally, whatever you do, you want it to be really good quality, especially if you're starting out. But that's really kind of what I have to say as far as doing your own marketing goes. I think it should be mandatory for everyone to do their own marketing because if you're not clear on who you are, what you do, why you do it, the people that you attract with it, your tonality, your language, your vibe. If you struggle to pinpoint those kinds of things, it's going to be a lot harder to outsource it later because those are all questions people are going to be asking you. Hey, who are you trying to target? What are your goals? What kinds of marketing have you tried in the past? What's worked? What hasn't worked so far? Those are all things that you're going to need to be able to answer. So if you fall short with maybe giving yourself a clear answer on those questions, you might not be ready to outsource quite yet, right? The hardest part is figuring out your audience, your niche, and then what works. That's so hard. Which leads me well into part 2 of this video, which is talking about the pros and cons of outsourcing, when it makes sense to do that. When it comes to outsourcing your marketing, whether that is hiring on someone onto your team, whether that's hiring an expert who's maybe external to you or your team or your business, when your business is growing, or when whatever you're doing is growing and you're starting to feel a bit of the pinch with time, that is maybe a good point, a good place to maybe kind of step back and think about, okay, does it make sense to outsource at this point? And that's a very good problem to have. I'm currently having that problem, and it's a very good one. It's stressful, but it's good because it means that there's growth, right? And apologies for my corporate-y language, but you have to ask yourself, if you're feeling that pinch, where can I trim the fat? What stuff is not so dependent on me that I have to do it? In my case, let's say I recently hired a VA. She's awesome. Her name is Charlene. Everyone say hi, Charlene. I'm starting to have her kind of play around with writing copy for newsletters. Do I necessarily need to do that? No. But she knows the brand and everything well enough that I trust her to kind of make a first draft of it. And then at that point, I would just have to read it over, approve it, make a few changes, and then I would feel better about sending it out. And that's time back in my pocket. I don't have to worry about being so in the weeds with that kind of thing. It also makes sense to outsource when your marketing is starting to maybe feel a little bit ineffective and you've tried everything, you've done everything that you can, you've given every platform, every technique, every strategy a fair shot, and just something isn't happening, whether that's engagement, whether that's lead generation and you're trying to get clients from social media, whether that is just not getting a response from the stuff that you're putting out there. There's all kinds of reasons for why it might not be working. But maybe at that point you, I don't know, walk up to someone like me and you pick my brain, be like, hey, here's what I'm about. This is what I do. This is what I've tried. It's not really working. What do you suggest? That's a really great conversation to have with someone who maybe is able to read the label outside of the pickle jar. Ugh, it's so corporate-y. I hate talking like that, but it just encapsulates it. And when you are at the point where you're feeling the time pinch and it's now becoming more of a time problem than a money problem, which is great because it means growth. It's at this point where you have to basically start thinking about 3 words. Again, a little corporate-y sounding, a little Silicon Valley sounding: delegation, automation, scalability. Delegating is just, hey, I need someone to do this kind of thing. I'm going to have you help me out with that. Automation is, hey, what can I kind of set up on the back end that I don't really have to pay as much mind to? Scalability, of course, is just, how can I keep raking in the money so that I can keep doing what I'm doing on a bigger and or better scale? So back to the question of, should you do your own marketing? A phenomenal question. Like I said, I think in my own personal biased opinion, you should be involved to some degree, whether you are doing $1 million in revenue, whether you're doing $100 in revenue. I'm currently working with someone right now who is a very business owner of a nonprofit, and I'm trying to tell her that, if you're the captain of the ship, when people think of this business, they are thinking of you. It makes sense for you to be front and center and for your face to be out there on social media talking about the brand, building up awareness of it, raking in more funding because it is a nonprofit. These are conversations that I'm having with real life people, and people get uncomfortable being on camera. People don't like social media. I don't blame them. It's complicated. It changes so quickly. You're at the mercy of the almighty algorithm. But you have to think about what makes sense for you. Are you feeling a money pinch or are you feeling a time pinch? So I'll kind of break it down here. The first question that I have for you is, do you have the time, the skills, and the resources to handle marketing effectively on your own? And think about, if once you get to the point of needing to hire out because you're starting to feel that time pinch, what are some of those checkpoints for you? What is that marker going to look like for you when you start to pivot from, or I have more time and less money, to now I have more money and less time? What is that checkpoint going to look for you? Think about, if you had the money that you needed to hire someone out, if you were going to outsource it, assuming you're doing it yourself right now, what would that person be? I would say 6 to 8 months ago, I would say one of the first things that I wanted to do was hire a video editor. And I did. His name's Jason. Everyone say hi, Jason. Because I was doing a lot of video marketing and I was making videos on YouTube and I was editing all my videos for a long time, and that took so long. And so now I'm able to outsource that kind of thing, and now all I got to do is script it, film it, send it off, and he does a really great job of editing. He gives me shorts, he designs thumbnails. I freaking hate designing thumbnails, man. They're so hard. Those are really great questions. So for me, it was first I need a video editor, then I need a VA, and I have a VA now and I'm starting to outsource some of that stuff to her. I have a little bit more time now, so what do I do with that? I'm able to stay higher level and keep my head above the water and start keeping an eye out for opportunities opportunities to grow, to attract more clients. That's what makes sense for you. Being the CEO or the figurehead or the captain of your ship, that is your business. I also believe in a hybrid approach. That's kind of what I do. Some stuff I do. Some stuff I don't feel comfortable outsourcing because I like having the control over the messaging, like making videos. No one else can make these videos except for me because it's my name on the channel, because I'm the one that people think of when they think of books, I guess, because that was a really big part of my brand. I'm the person people think of when they think of books. Some stuff is a little bit harder to outsource for. Some stuff is a little bit easier. So again, think about maybe what those different pockets are for you. And you know what? This one's probably the hardest, best piece of advice I can get, or that I can give, which is just start. Post the crappy post on Instagram. The world will not blow up. The space-time continuum will not fall. It's just do it. Do it. See what kind of response you get. Any kind of response, even no response is a response, and you can take all that information and learn from it, right? Start kind of tracking your reach on spreadsheets. I don't know, there's all kinds of templates out there. Start taking note of, what's working, what's maybe not working so well. A lot of this is going to come down to documentation, because it can really, really help, being able to see some of those patterns. I do this with my own social media, where I've been tracking my follower count, my engagement rate, my open rate, my click-through rate, and just kind of tracking some of those more meaningful metrics, because as you start to collect it, you can zoom out and see like what the broader trend is. So that stuff can really come in handy. So there is no perfect answer. It's just try it. Once you've tried it and you have an idea of what works, do it until it's harder to do it, and then you can outsource from there. But either way, I still do think it is worth being a part of your marketing efforts somehow, whether you are the face of it and everyone else does the mechanics and the background work, or there's going to be a different answer for different things. But that's really all I have for you. I hope you found this helpful. This is a really, really great question, and one that a lot of people face. So feel free to leave your thoughts below. Where are you feeling the pinch? Is it a time problem? Is it a money problem? Is it a girl, I don't know what I'm doing problem? It's all valid. So let me know your thoughts below. If you have any advice too, feel free to throw those in. Otherwise, that's all I got. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care, and I'll see you next time. See you later.